Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the This Is Me podcast. I'm Karen.
And I'm Ellie, and today we have Harriet joining us. Harriet is a senior sourcing and sales manager at Myton Food Group. She owns a flock of pedigree sheep, and she has a love for country music and Italy. So, Harriet, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us today. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today?
So my career, thanks everyone for listening to me. Hopefully will be a good next 40 odd minutes. But yeah, my kind of career kind of didn't really start off how I'd probably planned it. So a bit of context. I'd always wanted to be a vet. I'd always had a love for animals. I grew up in New Farmers. Always ridden horses. Latterly kind of got into the sheep. But yeah, my kind of main what do you want to be when you're younger is I want to be a vet. I wasn't really very well doing my A-levels, so I actually had to drop out. And at that time I was like, what am I going to do? Because I could still need to work and do something else. So I actually joined an equine practice as like an assistant veterinary nurse. I was there for about best part of 2 years. I worked for 6 months for free because at the time when I was 16, mum was like, you're going to have to show them you want to work for this. They're not just going to give you a job because there wasn't a job available. So yeah, 6 months of graft for free kind of hopefully proved.
That's a very long work experience.
Yeah, it was. So I worked there for 2 years, and then whilst I was there, I was like, actually, I do need to get something under my belt in terms of my career. So I applied because I hadn't done my A-levels. I needed to do an access, a year zero. So I applied to go to Harper Adams because they had that sort of course that was available. So yeah, fast forward another couple of months. I'd applied, I was there. So I did a year down at Harper, and due to kind of commitments at the time, I had a horse, I had some sheep, I had a job at home. I was coming back home every weekend. So it didn't kind of work that way.
Harper Adams is down near me, isn't it? It's Warwickshire, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of the people.
Shropshire.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of people from the farmers around here go to Harper Adams. It's quite a renowned place, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have a similar thing. I live up on the Wirral, so we've got Lisa. A lot of people go to. Okay. I don't know if that means anything, but
or what
just
it really
wanted
is.
To be involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
Yeah, did a
it's
year.
Also, not what it's called. Sorry.
It's
called Leahurst.
Leahurst campus. I think that's part of I'm sure that's part of University of Liverpool.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Lisa.
It's got the name wrong. That's the name of it. And anyway, sorry, Harriet. Please carry on.
It's all right. So kind of I did that for a year, and then I was coming home every weekend, and was just trying to kind of do too much, and something had to give. So I actually applied to Bishop Burton, which is over in East Yorkshire, to do basically transfer and do my degree over there. So it was 2 days a week, which meant I could commute for 2 days. It was only an hour and a half either way in the car, so it's a bit more manageable. And then I had the rest of the week to kind of still do all the other bits and pieces that I enjoyed doing. So it was a great compromise. So yeah, after there, kind of went into, I basically applied for the Morrisons manufacturing graduate scheme. But whilst I was kind of in that application process, I actually decided that I wanted to go travelling. And you kind of if you don't do it then, you're never going to do it. So went to Australia for 4 months. So basically worked for Morrisons for 9 months with the view that I would go travelling and then I would come back to the business. Whilst I was out there, I was still kind of set on wanting to be a vet. I actually worked in
didn't go away.
It didn't go away, no. I actually worked in a vet practice and did some work experience for 2 whole weeks. In
Australia?
Yeah, it was quite cool. I mean, I'm sure that the things that they allow me to do, you would not get away with doing here in the UK, but that's by the by. So yeah, did that, and then kind of came back with the view then that I would obviously join the grad scheme, which I did through Morrisons manufacturing. But yeah, I'd always kind of got that itching ambition. I felt like I kind of came back from traveling, and then within like 6 months, I think, I met my other half. So there was always something that pushed me on another tangent. Like, so I've always had that in the back of mind. Like, everything happens for a reason, but you've also then got to make your own path. Like, and I think one of the things that, if I look back on my career, because I used to go into my old school to do like talks on like Morrisons and like early careers and stuff, and everyone looks at their career and goes like this, when actually it doesn't. It goes like this all the way up, and sometimes it goes down, and then sometimes it goes up. So yeah, that was that's kind of always been one thing that I've stuck by. So yeah, and then I've been now at Morrisons, part of Myton Food Group, for 8 years. So that's been a whirlwind. Also feels like it was only yesterday when I look back, and it's been like I think it's like nearly 8.5 years, which is also a little bit scary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I did it was effectively another year on the grad scheme, because I'd already worked for the business for a year, and then rolled off into a role that was livestock technical specialist. So I won't go into too much detail, but the pig sector were having a lot of challenges with on-farm exposés at the time.
Right. And I remember that sort of stuff happening. Yeah,
it was these things are kind of still ongoing, but it was very, very new at that point in time. So as a business, we work with obviously a number of farmers, and we needed to make sure that our brand and our reputation was ultimately being protected, and that we had more of a presence on farm. So basically that role was created to do that. So
you didn't deal with the protesters, did you?
No, don't think that'd be my bag.
I was going to say,
I don't mind a bit of confrontation, but that was it was a very much like, and it was a job, but at the same time it was a job that just kept growing. So that like specialist role developed into having a team, and then that team grew even broader. So it was all about how can we protect our brand, and how can we have a more of an audit presence on farm. So I look back and I'm like, I'm actually quite lucky, because other than the role that I'm currently in, all of my roles have been created, like they didn't exist, which I also think is quite nice, because then you can put your own spin, and no one's ever been there before, and you said that this is the rule book that you need to follow. So that was quite cool. And then had the opportunity to move into what is kind of my current role, best part of about 2.5 years ago now. It was June 2023. So pigs and eggs, very similar in terms of intensive production. So I now look after eggs as opposed to pig welfare sustainability, was my previous role. So yeah.
It just makes me laugh when you say you look after eggs. It's like you're sitting on a nest of them, like a brood chicken.
These are mine.
The best
these are my eggs.
My neighbour has got like four hens, I think. Yeah, he's got 4 hens. However many eggs I buy every week, and I'm not going to tell you the number because it's a little bit scary. I never have any eggs downstairs. We never have any eggs in the house to eat. And all my family are like, but you buy like loads of eggs I'm like, I know, I just forget to get them from work and bring them home. So I have to go next door and nick his eggs. So
what do you do with all the eggs then, Harriet? What
do we do with them all?
We just omelettes, or are you just
in terms of from a customer base, you meaning?
Oh, you said you buy
how are you going?
Me from home.
No, I'm with you now. I thought you meant you were like just going through eggs at a rate of knots. That's not what you mean.
Never have any to eat, though. No. So I have to go next door and
100% apologise, but I thought exactly the same. I thought, why are you buying so many eggs a week? Like, but you buy them
as part of my job. Yeah. Sorry, I made that bit clear.
Share some egg recipes, Harriet, please. Sorry. Sorry, everybody. It's a Monday.
Yeah, I know. So, and yeah, I'm now obviously been in the role 2.5 years. I think grown so much in terms of me as an individual. I was having this conversation with my boss the other day, and she was like, "The Harriet I put into that role is not the Harriet that is appeared like in front of me now." And I'm like, that I think is a really nice thing to hear, because it's made me do things that step me out of my comfort zone in terms of having to lead a team, having to practice my public speaking. The more you do it, the easier it gets. But yeah, so that's kind of me in terms of career.
Yeah, so I have a lot of questions, but I think it was really interesting what you'd said. We talk about it in almost every episode now about how like no one's career actually looks like that at all in any, like no one's career looks like that. But what I thought was really interesting is how you'd said that you've kind of got to put your stamp on all of the roles that you've moved into. And I was going to say that it must have felt overwhelming, but also if you've been in like fortunate enough to be in a position where that's what all your roles have looked like, it like I guess in a way, I don't know how to phrase this, but like if you know no different, that's what you've always done. Does that make sense? Is that how it feels?
Yeah, it was a little bit like I suppose a little bit daunting, but to the same point, depending if you could look at it, it could also be overwhelming at the same breath. But I also think having a team and like a line manager who kind of really trust you, because I think that bit is really, really key. If you're in a new role creating something, you could easily give that role to someone and they sit there and they twiddle their thumbs all day. Which is
what I do.
That was never going to be me, unfortunately. I like to be busy. But
I would be out creating mayhem as well, 100%. I would be doing things I shouldn't have, probably.
Yeah, and what's the saying that you ask? What's the saying? Is it ask for... You do what?
Seek permission,
ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah, that one.
That was 100 sayings come out there.
At the beginning of me kind of in those roles, it was very much like I didn't really know because there were no guidelines as such. And now it's kind of like I'm thinking of doing this, or I've gone and done this. Like this is the next thing, and I think that just reflects in terms of just spending a bit of time just thinking about your own development and like how much when those opportunities do come up. And I've always been the sort of person that says yes. You also have to learn at some point that you need to say no at the same point, but that takes a little bit of strength, I think, and just knowing what's on your path and what's not on your path.
I was going to ask you, so your boss said the Harriet I put in this role isn't the Harriet sat before me. What did she mean by that? What was the difference?
I think the difference just in terms of I think she'll probably watch this podcast and go, no, that wasn't what I'm talking about.
But she should have been clearer.
I'm hoping
that's a joke.
Just in terms of like my just general confidence. I think if I went back to like 4 or 5 years ago, I was very, very kind of quiet. Probably wasn't that opinionated, and probably not as opinionated as maybe I should be in some instances now. But I think, for me, it is that confidence of just stepping outside of my comfort zone and actually taking accountability to lead things. Because actually leading a whole like division and a team is very different to kind of leading yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Is that something that you've had to like grow into? Because nobody knows how to do that. Like you don't get taught how to do it either, do you? Yeah, you just sort of, someone goes, you're quite good at your job, Harriet, manage other people, and you really like okay, how do I do that? Like,
I'll never forget, I had a conversation once with someone else in I was basically taking on part of what was his team, and I remember having the conversation with him. I remember walking around, we walked around like near where my old office was, because we didn't do like a face-to-face meeting. We thought, well, we'll get our boots on and go for a walk instead. And I remember him saying, like, but how have you done all this? How have you like gone and created we had like a team like session where we did like values and like mission statement and all the things that you need to do when you create a team. I was like, well, the honest answer is nobody's told me to go and do this. Genuinely, I've typed into Google, how do you lead a team? Like, where do you need to start? And I think that just shows like there are some people that you give them that scenario and they'll like literally be like, oh my God, I need someone to tell me how I do this. But at the same time, if you don't go and do it yourself, like you're never going to learn when it doesn't go right or when it goes wrong. So I think just that initiative, I think sometimes helps.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
So what made you go to Australia then? Going right the way back.
Going back to
Australia. To be a rogue vet.
Yeah, to be a rogue vet, I think. No, I think I've always wanted to go and see like another part of the world that was very different. Everyone said, why didn't you do like New Zealand while you were there? And I just was like, everyone says New Zealand is very similar to here. So I was like, I'll go somewhere that is very opposite to what I'd known at home. So yeah, Australia was on that choice list, and my mum did Australia when she was like younger, and she'd done like a bit of travelling. I just wish I'd also then followed that up with a ski season, but anyway, there's plenty of time to go skiing when you can fit it in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So when you say you've got a flock of sheep, what's that? Is that
how did
they like
a
pet, or are they like a I'm trying to like be nice, but are they working sheep? I don't know whether you have working sheep, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. So I used to show them and breed them for obviously meat, and I used to sell like lamb boxes to people locally around the hillside, because everybody loves the whole connecting like where their food has come from and where it's grown, if they can see it in the fields. So yeah, that's kind of where I started after I got rid of I had horses up until that point, and then the horses started costing me money. I think that's where it was a bit like, we just need to cut some ties there, and at least if you no longer want the sheep, you can sell them and make a bit of money, whereas selling a horse is a slight bit more challenging. So yeah, it kind of grew from, I think I had up to about 45 sheep at one point. It went a little bit crazy, and I was like,
God,
actually trying to maintain like a job at the same time was a challenge, but we are where we are. So at the minute they've been lawnmowers for about 2 years, but I keep them there just because I'd like to at one point start breeding from them again and loving them. So yeah,
this is completely different, but we have a place in the New Forest, and I was reading something on Facebook today that made me so sad, and I can't, you all know this because you work with all these things. It was like somebody put on, are we down in the New Forest, where can we see the pigs, because they're free range, and it's all the panache stews and where they eat the acorns. Somebody put on it, you better be quick because the local butchers have got them. I was like, no, please don't say the pigs.
Oh no, do you think that's true?
Yeah. It made me, sorry, for non-animal breeders now, I was like, oh my God, the pigs are at the butchers.
It is a whole concept to get your head around, and I think, I don't know if either of you watched like Clarkson's Farm, but I think he's really shed like such a positive, but also like the realities of farming to like the general public. Even obviously when he's like his sows had a litter and like the piglets have died, or like there's
that little tiny one,
problem after problem it's the realities of farming, but just on a slightly smaller, more concentrated scale. So
I think it's like, it makes it like, because we were talking, we had a woman called Millie on the podcast who, if her episode's not out by now, someone email me and say what's gone on. Do you know what I mean? Because she was saying the same thing, because because it was interesting how you're saying like you grew up with young farmers and that sort of stuff. She's had a really similar situation, and I do have questions like about that, because it does seem to be like a way of life for people more so than like, if that's not, anyway, I'll come back onto that. It's not my point that I'm trying to make here, but she was saying the same thing about Clarkson's Farm, And I said, it's been great for me because I know it's not the actual full-on reality of like actual British farming, but I wouldn't have a single clue if it wasn't for that TV show. I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't know anything about it. And I do think that, like, if you like him or not, doesn't really matter. The insight into British farming is fascinating, and it's like we should know about it because it's really
important.
important.
It is, particularly as we are, I'm saying this in the nicest possible term, breeding generations further and further away from our agricultural roots that were many, many years ago. And children, unfortunately, now don't know where the food comes from. They think it comes from a supermarket. And that is as close to farming as some children do unfortunately get.
So as part of your job then, Harriet, do you have like an education program, or is that part of the responsibility of the company as such, not necessarily your job?
Yeah, it's kind of like a joint effort across like my kind of team, the wider kind of team, and just the general like business. But yeah, it's something I am quite passionate about. Like I said, I used to go into like my old school to do like talks, which I think it's just really nice being able to like understand or show people like there are careers in agriculture that you're not taught about that in school. Like you talk if you want to be a doctor or a vet or a lawyer or a scientist or whatever that kind of looks like. But to me, I always kind of go back to me wanting to be a vet and how I know where I am where I needed to be, but in a very different job to where I actually thought I would be. So
we had another podcast, didn't we, a lady called Jackie. She you probably know them, she works for Cranswick, the meat company, and she wanted to be a vet, didn't she? And she had a challenge at A-levels, and like she kept trying to find like what did that look like. And she said a similar sort of thing to you, which is she still had that love and she had to find a way to be with animals that were dead, but you know what I mean, like it's still that industry.
That's like I think that's sort of what I was rambling on about before I went on about Clarkson's farm, is that it's really interesting because I'd forgotten about Jackie, to be honest with you. I might cut that bit out. I hadn't forgotten about Jackie. But much more so with people that have grown up with it and it's been they've been involved in it in some capacity, that sort of need to be involved in some, I'll say in some capacity again. It is like, it's really evident. Like the three, like, included, the three people that we've spoken to about it have gone, and I just needed to be involved somehow. And you probably wanted to be a vet because that is that's what you're told is the option. And I was going to ask, how did you come to find that there are grad schemes, that there are things that you can do to be involved in a different way?
I think it was just knowing like contacts and people in the wider agricultural sector and knowing actually is there an opportunity in Morrisons, like at the time, obviously now it's part of like Myton Food Group, who I work for, but that there are opportunities and there are careers in some capacity that aren't, to your point of being a vet, that people can do. And I do think we don't do a great job of educating people that there are those opportunities.
No, I think you're right.
Because I also think, like, to the point of like being a vet, like I probably don't think looking back that I would have got the grades that I needed to be a vet, but that doesn't necessarily mean from a practical perspective that there aren't other careers that you can go into that you can apply that to at the same point. So yeah, it's definitely, I think
it's a really good point you make about the disconnect as well with the children from where food is produced, because actually the more you have, bear with me, the more you have that disconnect, the more the farming community won't be stood up for. Won't be like held on to. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
Because I know we always talk about, like, you know, like farm field to farm to shops to blah blah, and like, and actually that was such a part of my childhood. But now I think about, here I'm in Rugby, and I think about, you know, there's quite a lot of farming communities around it, but the school I work with, they never have a farming person come to the careers.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember being on the
Weird,
train.
isn't
I
it?
was coming up from London, and there was some sort of school trip happening. And this kid went, "Oh my God, a cow!" And like they were like, "I've never seen a cow in real life before." And I was like, "What do you mean you've never?" And it never dawned on me that, like, actually, well, yeah, if your kid's from the middle of London, where would you have seen a cow before? Like,
You wouldn't, no.
no. And it was just, you know, because they weren't young kids, they weren't old kids by any means, but that I'd say between 8 and 10. And I just thought,
wow,
and that disconnect between what's on your plate and where that's come from is crazy.
And as we've like had to, going back to like the generations piece, like we've got less people who know about farming as a general rule of thumb, but like I'm not from a farming family as such. Like my parents have removals, transport and like storage, like that's their business, they do that together. So actually coming into an area or an industry that I wasn't not programmed to, because not that I'm saying people from a farming background are programmed to go into farming, because that's not the case, but having those opportunities to go in and see a different area, but also be exposed to those different careers when you're not from that background, I think is important. And there are people who like have been really successful not from the farming background too. So
that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize you weren't.
Because I think I just, when you said young farmers, I thought, I just assumed, oh well, there's some sort of like family connection somewhere where this is, because farming is like if you are
in the blood.
it is, and it, like, you know, it kind of has to be, because I don't know how you'd get introduced to that if you weren't
where's your partner?
So how did you?
I was going to say, what's your partner's background as well? Because what do you think about the sheep?
Nothing to do with that either. Like as close as he's got is fixing tractors. That's as close. But yeah, he's a mechanic, so he looks after. I don't know if you've ever heard of like Mazda Bongo camper vans. A bit like a VW, but they're like a Japanese Mazda version.
Oh, okay.
He fixes them, so he's quite practical, but it's very helpful in terms of like anything sheep related. Like I had him yesterday helping turn over some sheep for me, which is he's also like 6'3" and considerably taller and stronger than me, which helps. But yeah, it's definitely a full family effort, kind of looking after the sheep, and like there's only 13 of them at the minute, but one day.
So how did you find yourself like involved in like things like young farmers? And was it through your internship?
No, it kind of came from like boyfriends at the time. And like friends that I'd been a part. I didn't really like school. Like, I was always like outside with the riding the horse, and everyone else was going to like gigs or just going and sitting in a park. I was like, it's not really for me, like not really down for that. I would always be outside. I'd be the last person in with like my wellies on, covered in sheep muck. And the funniest thing was I just got married in June, and my other half's best man had written in the wedding speech, it's great to see how well you scrub up when you're not covered in sheep shit. So I was like, cheers, Johnny. Really appreciate that.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, I think having no one in that kind of realm, I think is quite helpful too. So
what's up? What's the next few years look like for you then?
Next few years for me, I think Well, the next few months I think it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm expecting a baby end of March, beginning of April. So yeah, it's kind of a bit like, I think I'm going through a bit of a reality check of like, oh my God, my whole life I've like worked in some capacity. So you go to school and then like you get a job and then you move and then you'd kind of do everything in like a timeline. And then I'm looking now at the next like few years going, so I'm going to have a period of time where I'm not in work, which is a whole concept in my brain. So I think still trying to process. Although exciting, I've got to look after a mini me. That I've always worked. Like you've always had something that's always been there in the background. So yeah,
it's really having a baby is like one of the biggest things that challenges your identity.
Yeah,
because you have to not reinvent, but you do have to reinvent who you are, and it's a real challenge for mums who go back to work because people quite often people at work don't even acknowledge that you've now got a baby, but also you don't really know who you are. And I think that's why maternity leave is really important to be extended, so it gives you chance. The first few months you're just not going to be able to sleep, really. Sorry, you two. And then it gives you chance to sort of like acclimatize. It's really tough for women because especially if you've worked and you're proud of what you've achieved, it's really tough, really, really tough to someone who's way on the other side of it. When I first went back to work after I had Laura, it was the first time I dressed properly. I only had 4.5 months off because my maternity leave was much shorter. And I went back to work. I used to work for a well-known supermarket. And I went on a visit to one of the stores. It was really like tartan short skirts were in fashion at the time. And I got mine on and I was proudly walking through the staff canteen and my skirt was tucked in my knickers.
Oh no.
No, that was my day back. Oh, sorry for sharing that, but you think you're all right, but you're really screwed.
You're trying to like do almost two jobs, like because you've got your mum hat on and like the other hat on. So yeah, I'm sure I'll be fine. But I think it's just the reality of like.
Yeah.
So you did say you're due the beginning of April, yeah?
Yeah, beginning of April. Yeah. Everyone says it's a really nice time to have a baby, so I'm like, I
had my first was born the end of April. It is a lovely time.
Yeah, so it's still a little bit darker. Getting a bit lighter means hopefully I can get outside in the fresh air. Baby will be born into the mud.
Riding a sheep.
Will be the case, yeah.
I was gonna say like the baby will come and so will the lambs and like it'll just be lovely. But it is a bit. Because I think it's so difficult to comprehend what that will be like as a well, you can't do it really, can you? Because you don't know what it's going to be like. But then to also consider like, and now I don't do what I've done every day.
Yeah.
Like for years and years and years, and it's your whole routine. It's everything, isn't it?
I also think like looking at obviously people in the business who are like senior leaders as well, kind of coming in that world of coming hopefully back to work into a role, looking up at them and like actually been like, oh my God, if she can do it, so can I. Do you know what I mean? Like having someone to look up to who's a really good model, I think is really quite nice to have. And as a business, like we do have quite a few females in like more senior roles, so just having the opportunity to go and whether grab some time with them or how do they do it, and they might tell you like they're not really doing it, but they make it look like they're doing a really great job.
No, I think it's right though, because it's important. Like I'm glad that you said that, like, you know, there is like quite a bit of representation, because God, can you imagine if you were like, and I can't, sometimes you don't need to do anything other than see that somebody else is doing it, do you?
Yeah.
I think it's like really, it's really interesting because role models are really interesting because every mum is different. And sometimes when you're in an environment where you look at some women, and I've worked with a lot of women who are coming back from maternity leave, and you think, oh my goodness me, do you know, like, they need to be role models too about returning back to work to be a mum. Do you know, like, I remember when I was the first time I had it, and you were always compared with women, well, they never did Karen, they never had to go and pick the kid up, they never had to do this. So there's also some like really interesting not role models that you have to be aware of as well. And I think that's really sad. Do you know, like, I think it's just really sad because unfortunately we have no choice but to have children. Do you know, like,
the men couldn't do it.
Yeah.
No, they couldn't.
I keep having this conversation with the half all the time. I'm like, yeah, but you're not carrying a baby. Like, you couldn't do it. And he's like, I could if I was like, no, we're not there.
Can you even imagine the chaos that would ensue? Nothing would. We want to talk about declining birth rate. It would be declined. Declined. So so you've got that to look forward to, and then, well, I guess I was going to say work-wise, but I guess it's almost like the
next chapter is that.
Yeah,
because like. It is. It's not like, oh, I'd want to be able to do this. In fact, you are sort of on the not wind down, but you know what I mean? Like, you can't plan to do anything else because actually you have this whole new phase, which is incredible and slightly scary.
It is, yeah. But also I'm like at the same time, I've kept enough lambs alive over the years. Like, when they've been on death's door, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I think
attitude.
I was saying this to Ellie the other day. Like, you've got to be the parents you want to be. You know, like that. There's 100,000 books. There's 1,000 celebrity influencers telling you how to look after a baby.
It's overwhelming.
But you just need to be the parents who love their child, and you will get things wrong as long as you don't kill them. You know. But you know, you've just got to be your family unit and love you. You know, this is what I always say to mums. Everybody's got advice for you, but actually it's your child.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll know it. And as long as you don't feed it like a sheep. I'm slightly obsessed by your sheep. I don't know if you can tell. Sorry, everybody, but I'm very obsessed by Harriet's sheep.
They're also quite cute, my sheep. But yeah. But yeah, to that point though, like, everyone likes to give you, as I've found out in the last like couple of weeks, their bits of advice. But I also think, like, 50 years ago, like, we didn't know some of these, like, we didn't have this technology that told us this. Like, I also think at the same time, like, we're probably making us as a human race a bit too sensitive to some of the things at the same point.
Yeah.
So do we need that much detail? Probably not.
No. It terrifies me when you hear about parents like tagging like their kids, and like, you know, like sort of
like with like air tags.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like and things like that. Yeah, and I
is that really a thing?
Yeah, and also microchipping their kids as well.
Like, oh my God.
That surely, but how are they getting that? Can't be a thing, because who's
I watched a program on it. Oh no,
who allows that? Like, from a no.
You can imagine.
I'm now going to Google it.
I know, me too.
It's actually a real thing. I watched a program on it about how like there's people are so concerned about their children, and you think, but you're not letting that child learn to survive in this world. Like, you know, like I think you're right. There's a lot of technology, a lot of things you've got access to that is just overwhelming. You know?
Yeah. I just think, like, I just met my friends. We're off on a tangent now, and I promise you we'll wrap up in a minute. But my friend just had a baby a couple of weeks ago. I just met her this morning, and she just says, you're inundated with advice. And I just think, if we as a species survived in the medieval times,
this is my point.
I think we'll be all right in our modern day world. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you'll probably be okay. Is what I'm trying to get at.
Where do you think this like stuff comes from? Because it's not just about having a baby. For lots of women, one of the things about the podcast is this bit about, you know, like not being who you think you should be and not knowing what to do. Where does it come from? Is it worse with social media?
I think it is. Yeah.
Do you think it is?
I think people look at people's lives and think that everything's like really, really rosy, and obviously you're not going to put the really bad stuff on your like social media platforms. Like, that's not how people get like views or likes or followers or whatever that looks like. So I definitely think it's driven by that. And I think in innate like competitiveness that is somewhere inside everyone that wants to be better than someone else, even though they might not be competitive in that space.
Wait till your kid goes to school. Your real competitiveness.
We can do this again in a few
out.
years, and we'll see how it's changed.
Honestly, your competitiveness will 100% come out.
Yeah.
I think as well, we have access to way more information now, and also people have to give you worst case scenario, and they have to tell you what the risks are. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they have to tell you every possible thing.
Because we're afraid of the consequences of not telling you that you could. Someone could go and sue them for it, like that. We're getting very deep now, but yeah,
I know we are. Right? No, and we will, because we'll stop. Otherwise, we'll do this for the rest of the evening. Well,
we'll be down the deep holes.
This has been fascinating. So thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us. Our last and final question for you is: if you had to pick a song to be the theme song for your life, or even if that's just now, or just a song that you like in general, what song would it be?
So the song that would represent me, I think, also quite relevant because we also played at the wedding, so like it's still it still is a song of the time as such, would be John Davis. So he's a country music singer who I've seen like twice now, he's great. His song's called Damn Good Time. So we played it at our wedding for like the cake cutting, and it was just really like one of those songs. But I think that's probably because like they tie in, and I think country is quite good at doing this, like a story with like an emotion. And I think it probably resonates more with me because I am a very honest person at the same time. Sometimes a bit too honest, but I've been working on that for the last however many years of my life, and I think it brings in that like everyday experience of a story into something that is really relatable at the same point. So that would be mine.
I've never heard of it, so I will give it a listen.
No, we're gonna put them on a playlist because there've been some really interesting ones. I just think it's fascinating that we've never had the same one.
No. Have you not?
No, not at all. No.
What does it vary from? Like really rogue?
No. Like we couldn't even begin to like really? the variances like here to Timbuktu. Like,
if you wanted to go on Spotify and you thought I'll listen to the Women of Our Time podcast playlist, and you think it's all going to be this genre, no, it's everything.
Yeah, so I will actually have to get the playlist up and running. I know because
we've got enough now. But I tell you what I found with it, because we were doing like Ellie and I are going to do some reflections on the themes, and the music really links to someone's why. And that's why I think they're all so different, and that's why I think they're also really incredible, because each one means something really special to each person that's chosen it. And I just think it's lovely because each one of them has come with, some people have thought too many weeks over it before they've come on our podcast. But I genuinely love them when we're looking at them, like people's reasons behind it. I just think it's amazing. But everything's different, which is amazing. So I really love it. But thank you for that. And thank you so much for indulging me about your sheep.
Anytime. If you're passing, you can come and call in and see them.
Absolutely.
100%,
I'm gonna have to show you a picture now, aren't I, before I
I think so. Otherwise it's not like it's not right.
Give me a second.
To keep us updated with your baby.
I will. So this is my I've still got her actually. She's like 11 years old. That's Lottie, who I used to show. And
her ears are amazing.
Yeah, they're very cute. That was So yeah, they're really fluffy and they're quite
They
nice to look
are
at.
actually
That's
really
like,
cute.
I don't want ugly sheep because I'm looking at them in the out of the window. So that was the compromise that I needed.
No, that's brilliant. Right,
No,
thank
but thank
Harriet,
you. Yeah,
thank
we
you
need to
so
let you go.
much.
Yeah, thank you
and
so
everyone,
much, Harriet.
thank you for listening, and we will
Yeah,
You're
see
welcome.
you. Bye.
Thanks for
Bye.
listening to me, and it's been great to chat.